Welcome to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco, bringing you interviews with industry experts and regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews in 60 days, guaranteed. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to have my latest guest with me. Jim Peacock is here, and he is the principal of Peak Career Consulting. He's a LinkedIn strategist, provides workshops and coaches individuals, and also offers professional development for career coaches. His earlier roles include serving as an advising and career center director at a community college, and he also worked as a high school counselor. He is a certified career services provider, a global career development facilitator, and a two-time president of Maine's Career Development Association. He even received an Outstanding Career Practitioner Award from the National Career Development Association back in 2007. So, Jim, thank you so much for joining us. Joining me, I should say.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Virginia.
Well, you just heard me give a quick bio, but I'd love to hear from you. Can you give us a quick overview of how you help people, what you do?
Yeah, I mean, the bulk of my of Peak Careers Consulting is providing professional development for career service providers, and there's lots of people who provide career services. There are school counselors, adult ed people, Department of Labor, college career centers. I mean, just lots of different people deliver career services. And my goal with Peak Careers is really to provide some kind of training. So I've always offered the Facilitating Career Development course, which is a curriculum developed by National Career Development Association and leads to career certifications. And then I've developed online seminars for career practitioners, and I do workshops. I've been to a number of different state associations to deliver workshops. I'm dabbling with webinars. And I have, as said in the intro, I have a limited number of career coaching clients that I work with. Most of my work is really providing professional development for career practitioners. And I write a weekly newsletter and blog, and working on a book right now. So it's all geared toward career coaches and practitioners.
I love this. Because usually I invite people on that are dealing directly with job seekers, but you're really helping those that are helping the job seekers. So I'm so interested to hear your perspective.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I really felt like I could do individual career coaching, but it was only affecting one life at a time. And I still enjoy that. But I really felt like if I wanted to affect the most lives, I could do that by helping career coaches and counselors and practitioners get better.
So how did you come into this? I mean, you were a counselor, a guidance counselor yourself. How did you come to form your company?
Well, so when I was a school counselor, I really didn't like all the counseling stuff as much as I loved the career. I just loved the career stuff, but I really didn't like the hardcore counseling. I wanted to take about 50 students home with me, and it just would break my heart. And I just so I really I just kept gravitating to the career stuff. And then I realized I really wanted to get back into higher ed. And I had started in working at colleges and ended up in school counseling. But so I really wanted to do I just focused on the career stuff. And then I had this chance to be an instructor for this Facilitating Career Development course that I mentioned that was developed by National Career Development Association.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to that training, and I've always loved presentations. I've always loved I've always been active at whatever professional association I've been with. And I like doing presentations and workshops. And so, I ended up leaving school counseling and was the director of developed and created an advising and career center at a community college. and just kept focusing on the career stuff. And at that time, really peak career started then when I was teaching the facilitating career class.
Oh, wow.
And it was just a part-time gig up until February 2012 when I went full-time into peak careers.
So you're going on 8 years now.
My anniversary's coming right up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary. So
you
work with, go ahead.
It's exciting. I mean, it's not easy to make a business work. I mean, I'm up here in Maine, and my model is really working with people across really the world, but primarily North America. And, and I wasn't sure I could pull it off, but 8 years says I pulled it off.
And so do you help people that are helping everyone from people in school all the way up to executives?
Do I, for individual coaching or training?
Both. I mean, who are your people that you're training and who are your clients?
So I'll answer the client first. I would say that most of my clients are probably 3 to 5 years out of college up to sort of midlife career changers, and with a handful of boomers and stuff. I really thought my business was going to be really working toward boomers, working with the boomer population. Matter of fact, I've printed like 500 brochures, and I've got 400 of them left from 6 years ago. And you think you're going to do one thing, and reality sort of comes in. So most of my clients are probably midlife career changers, what I would call midlife career changers, in a variety of different settings. Probably not as much high executive, but just a lot of just a wide variety of midlife career changes. My training really is the training that I do, a lot of it is probably for college career center people, K to 12 career people. There's there's all kinds of people who are doing career services, adult ed, Department of Labor, bulk rehab. I mean, the clientele is, and then private practitioners. I mean, I have the career class I've got going on right now is really a hodgepodge of all kinds of people. People who did Upward Bound, and all the affiliates that go with Upward Bound. There's a bunch of trio programs helping people aspire to do better. I mean, all those people could take my workshops or take my classes or take my online seminars.
So, I mean, given that you are between your private clients and then the training that you're doing, you're seeing job seekers of all walks of life, all career stages are interfacing with them. What do you see as a couple of major challenges facing people that are job searching today versus, maybe back when you first started?
Yeah. I think there's a couple things that come to mind. One is the importance of building relationships, and not just when you're looking for work. The world that we live in is relationship based, and that's not going to go away, even with all the technology. People hire people, and then if you think about it, 80% of all the jobs are not advertised.
Yeah.
There's only one way. There's only one way to find that 80%, and that is through building relationships. If they're not advertised, you're not going to find them in job banks, and job boards. If they're not advertised, you're not going to read them in the paper, and they're not advertised. And so the importance of building relationships when you're all the time, when you're looking for work, and also when you're not looking for work, I think is really a huge change, and it's one of those things that you've really got to spend some time on. I think the other big challenge and thing that's happened is people need to. So the second thing that came to mind as I was thinking about that people need to be able to articulate what value they bring to the workforce. For a long time, people could throw a resume together and send it out, and you might get a hit off of that. But a resume is often just a reflection of what you did,
right?
And oftentimes it doesn't tell you what you bring to the company. And I think that's where I spend most of my time with my clients, is really helping them articulate the value, what I call the value-added statement that they have to come up with. What are the 5 or 6 essential things they want everyone to know about them? What value do they bring? I mean, that's really where I spend the bulk of my time, and it's really what people struggle with, because I don't want to brag and everybody can do this. Right. No, not everybody can do it. I mean, we're all unique in our own way. We all have certain gifts, and you have to be able to articulate that when you're talking to employers, because that's what employers want. Employers don't care what your degree is. If you have a college degree, I think college degrees are overrated anyway. I think a lot of companies are realizing that it's not all about the college degree. Clearly, there's some jobs I do want my physician and my surgeon to have.
Yeah, you want them to have gone to med school. But you're right. And it does seem like now that the hiring market is tightened, that emphasis on degrees is less.
Right. And what's the value? Because I can learn and develop skills in a wide variety of ways. I can do it on the job. I can do it through online trainings. I can do it. I don't have to do it through a
brick and mortar
institute of higher education.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of ways. I mean, a lot of the skills that I've developed and the things that I bring to the table, I didn't get into college. I got it through my work experience. And I think that's the value that I bring. And I think those are the two big challenges.
Yeah, I love what you said. A reflection that the resume. It used to be. You're right. It used to be a reflection of what you did, but now it's what you can do. It's more forward thinking.
Well, and I think a resume still is sort of a reflection of what you did, but you do need to write it in such a way that is more forward thinking. And I think that's one of the struggles people have. I often say the resume is a reflection of what you did, and you want to make it accomplishment based. Your cover letter tells me where you're going. Your LinkedIn profile should be telling me where you're going. What's the value that you bring? So it's a combination of all those pieces and parts. Even though the resume tells me where you've been, it needs to be written in such a way that highlights the value that you bring. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
no, you're right. You're right.
People. It's not just I worked at the community college, and I was the director of advising, and I oversaw 5 people. No, I mean, what is the value that what are the accomplishments?
Yeah. So what? Yeah. Yeah. I always say it has to pass the so what test. Yeah, exactly. Is that?
I love that.
What do you? Well, it's true. I mean, because a list of responsibilities. You're like, well, so how does that help me?
Right.
What are your clients most surprised by job searching now? Is that something we've talked about, or is there something else that's sort of catching people off guard?
Well, I embrace what I call intentional serendipity.
Ooh, what's that?
What I mean by that is people need to be intentional and take action in this job search process, but then they also need to be open to discovering things by accident. So what surprises people is the fact that you can create your own luck. And if you really think about people's stories, most of the time it was like, well, I got into this job because I met somebody. I was on my honeymoon and I met this guy and he told me about this job, and and those are all chance events. And people who, it's not like it used to be where people would be like, I want to be an accountant, and all the job titles were, the jobs were accountants, and you could look up accountant. Now people are looking for, again, you build relationships. They're looking for value. What skills do you bring? What's the value that you bring? And that is, you can create luck by going out and talking to people. You can create luck by doing job shadows, by volunteering in associations. All of a sudden you go, wow, I didn't even know that job existed, because It's not about job title. The job title, there's a million job titles for accountants now. I mean, right? I mean, it's not like there's one. You're right.
And every company calls it something slightly different.
Right. And so if you are myopically just saying these are the only jobs that I want, you're gonna be very limited in your success. But if you go out and say, I'm gonna go out and talk to as many people as possible, I'm gonna go out and volunteer, I'm gonna go out and take action, I'm gonna go out and try this, I'm gonna go out and do this, I'm gonna go read this, I'm gonna be on LinkedIn, whatever it is, then that's when you discover those things by accident, right? That intentional serendipity where you kind of go, what else is out there? You know, you can create your own luck.
I love that. You know, I talked to a client who said, she described it as go down the rabbit holes. It's okay, because you never know what you're going to find.
Right.
Do you find that people that surprises them, what I love is that makes you feel like you're in control. It's not all up to the gods. You are, like you said, you're creating your own luck. Is that something that people, when they've done it, it's been surprisingly fruitful?
Yeah. And again, I think if you reflect back on why you are who you are today, most of the time it was 90% of the time it was a chance event. Very few people is this process linear. You know, I mean, it still happens. The linear jobs still happen. And I've got a brother.
But they're not. They're the minority.
Yeah, I mean, he was a banking major in college, and he worked in banking, and he's still working in banking. I mean, it happened. Now, is it exactly what he thought it was going to be? Probably not. You know, he probably had surprises along the way. But the reality is, most people are discovering, like, wow, I didn't even know this job existed, and secondarily, I didn't even know I could love a job this much. You know.
That's my story. Yeah, you're right. But most careers have twists and turns and unexpected pivots that happen.
You don't sit around and think about your passion and then go, okay, now I'm going to go get a job. You got to go out and get a job. And then while you're working, you go, oh gosh, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. So then you kind of go, well, what else is around me? What else is out there? And then you maybe you get a new job, or maybe you adjust that job, you know, and within that same company. But then that's when you discover, wow, what I really love doing is this stuff. How could you know what your passion is at 17? I mean,
that's right. Yeah, it's probably going to change. 18. You're right.
You got to get out there and do it.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for someone? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say one other thing that surprises, you know, I think a lot of clients are surprised by is how important the stories are when they're talking to people, and the stories that highlight skills and accomplishments. And I think, you know, that whole piece about being able to just sending me a list of skills is not very helpful. So when you say, you know, I was able to raise money, the way that I did it was blank and blank, and I collaborated with these 5 people, and I communicated with them on a regular basis, and I was very creative in how I approached it. Those are stories. People remember stories, and I don't think that's the other thing a lot of my clients often don't realize, the importance of stories. That's one of the first things I start off with is you know, tell me something you're most proud of, and then I help them get that story. You know, practice that story it's in the STAR model, right?
You know, and that's
action steps.
That's the same approach I take to writing. I always say, when you walked away, what were you proudest of? And tell the accomplishment within the framework of a story. Because you're right, people remember, and it helps them to connect the dots and go, oh, well, he did that for this place. That's what I need done. But no, storytelling is super powerful. I agree. What advice would you give someone who is looking to, you know, they're ready to make a career move? Where would you advise them to get, or what do you tell the people that you're training? How do you help people get started?
I mean, I think that you start with identifying skills that people have. What are the skills that you have? I mean, you've got to start with that. And I use card sorts. I'm a big fan of card sorts and skills card sorts, value card sorts. But I'm helping them identify that value added that they bring to the company, and then really being open to discovering something by accident. I mean, that's just, too often people limit themselves with preconceived ideas. They got to be able to articulate those skills, passions, interests, what's important to them, and then get out there and try something and talk to people, because even if they're not sure of what they want to do, most people know what they don't want to do. So that's helpful information, because if you know what you don't want to do, at some level you know what you do want to do.
Right, you're right. Yeah, figure out your deal breaker.
So when people say, yeah, right. I mean, so when people say, I'm undecided, I go, probably not. You're not really undecided. You know what you don't want to do. So, I mean, if it's not accounting, why isn't it accounting? Well, what I really want to do is work with people in a helping relationship. Oh, well, now we're on to something, right? Now we're moving. So it's a matter of knowing what you don't want to do, identifying the skills, the values that are important to you, and then really getting out there and being open to discovering something by accident, right? That intentional serendipity. And that's really my best advice.
I love that. What is that the same advice you give to people that are clients or people that are dealing with these clients? Those kind of people that didn't think through this stuff beforehand and are out in the job hunt roles, and they're job hunting and it's not working. Do you have different kind of advice for them?
Well, I think what happens with a lot of those people is they're doing the same thing over and over, and it's not working.
Yeah.
They're applying online, and I can't tell you how many clients and I've had. They said, "Well, I'm applied to 100 jobs this week," and it's like, yeah. Well, don't forget, 80% of the jobs are not advertised. They're spending 80% of their time applying online, and they're not finding work, right? And so then they lose, they start getting pessimistic.
Yeah.
They get discouraged. And the reality is, a lot of what I'm doing is just kind of blowing that whole concept up. If they were spending 80% of their time applying online, 20% of their time talking to people, I'm saying it's opposite.
Flip it.
80% of your time should be talking to people. And you still want to be applying online. You still want to know what's going on out there. But you really want to flip it, because once you get into that, what I call the vortex of negativity, once you get, you get pessimistic, right? You're just like, God, nothing's working. And, then that pessimism can take over, and you really got to shake it up, and you got to try something different. So whatever it is, whatever you're doing, you just got to try something different. If you've not been on LinkedIn, and not every single job is going to need to be on LinkedIn. If you're thinking about plumbing or electrician, you're probably not.
Yeah, you're not going to go there, right?
But if you are in a field that needs LinkedIn and you haven't been on LinkedIn and been active, then that's, shake it up, right? Because if whatever you've done, so these people who have not been successful, whatever they've been doing isn't working.
It's not working, right? Right. What I love about the spending more of your time talking and less applying online too is that it makes you feel like you're not job searching alone, and that's to me a huge part of what leads to the pessimism and negativity, and you just feel so isolated and alone. But just having conversations,
right?
Gives you that.
And most people want to help you, right? And so if you're sitting at home every night by yourself and applying to 100 jobs, that's lonely. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not healthy. But when you're out talking to people, most of the people you're going to talk to are willing to help, and they're willing to give you ideas. And
well, if nothing else, people love to share advice.
Absolutely. And that just, like you say, that just boosts up your self-esteem. It boosts up your confidence. It boosts up your optimism and, outlook and all that. And it all comes from just being with people. People hire people. That's all there is to it.
You're right. Like you said, right. It goes back that. Yeah, I always say that the whole online world just moved the Rolodex from paper to print to online, but it's still people and people.
Absolutely.
What about those people that could do a bunch of things, and they're like, well, I either want to do this or I want to do that, or they have a lot of different targets. How do you help them to? What do you tell them to do?
Well, a lot of my advice is still the same. Focus on your skills. Focus on and focus on talking to people and discovering those jobs by accident, because they are multi-talented. They can do all kinds of stuff, and so they have these varied interests. The big thing I would say is to focus on companies that you want to work for. So a lot of those people, most people you can narrow down. There's an industry that they really like, or there's a type of company that they like. And so, we have in Maine, we have like the top, and I think that most states have it, the best companies to work for in the state of Maine. There's the top 10 companies in the state of Maine. There's a website, and I've seen it on other states as well, but best places to work. And so for those people, sometimes it's not so much about the specific job, but the kind of culture that they want, right? So it might be an industry that they're interested in, but it also might be a kind of company, or a culture that they're a specific culture that they're looking for, and then they find a way to fit their skills into that. So my big advice is start making a list of make a list of companies you're interested in and start exploring. Talk to people who work there or worked there, which is easily found out on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and, LinkedIn's, just for sheer research, LinkedIn is fabulous.
Yeah.
Amongst other things,
So for those people, there are people who've got all these different skills and different interests. But I think for most of those folks, it often comes into values, culture.
Yeah, narrow it down according to, and it goes back to also what you said before. What are your deal breakers? If working with a company that has a certain corporate culture is, not something you're interested in, that helps you to narrow your focus.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's
figure out your deal breakers. I mean, I like that. That's a good way of saying it.
What about, I see this a lot. Barriers to entry, which can be age discrimination, too old, too young, what are your thoughts on coaching people or telling coaches on how to handle these potential barriers to entry?
Yeah, I mean, I work, as I said, I initially thought most of my business would be working with boomers. And I do work with, as I said, I work with boomers, but I work with a lot of midlife career changers. And who often say, well, I think, there's age discrimination. Well, there is. Yeah, there is age discrimination. There's no question about it. But so let me give you an example. I was working with, there was a woman, she probably was in her, I'm really horrible at guessing ages, but she was probably in her early 50s. I'd say she was probably early 50s, who went to school. She went to the community college and got a medical assisting degree. And so she was not your traditional medical assistant.
Yeah.
Out. And she was getting her resume was getting her in to the interview, and she wasn't getting hired. And there's a huge need for medical assistants.
Yeah.
2 + 2 is 4. She was getting in. They were looking at her. She's not our type. She's too old, right? I mean, it's very hard to prove. So the first thing I did with her was, I said, I have to reframe her view of this. And so what is the issue that they're thinking? Or what is their one concern? Technology. This person's too old. They're not going to be able to get the technology. Well, I said, so focus on it. Can you do the technology? Oh, yes, I can. Well, what else can you do? Let's make a laundry list of the technology you can do. So focus on that. So when you get to the interview, focus on all the technology you can do. So deal with that argument. Deal with that you're too old.
So address the elephant in the room right there.
Absolutely. Right. And, and the fact that you're stuck in your ways. Focus on her willingness to figure things out. She was really very good. She used to go figure stuff out. She'd get stuck on stuff and, she'd go online and do some research and if some stuff she couldn't figure out, she'd ask. She wasn't afraid to ask. But I said, focus on your willingness to figure things out and how you go out and do all this research on your own. And then focus on the fact that, hey, you plan to work for 10 years. You got 10 more years, at minimum 10 more years. And also focus on the other thing is focus on your perfect attendance. So, because that's the one thing that a lot of the 50-year-olds do bring to the
yeah, so address the bias of the younger crew that are not reliable.
Absolutely. But, and so my advice when you're dealing with these potential age discrimination is you throw it on the table. You find a way to, you get yourself prepared to deal with it. Don't go into there and go, poor me, they think I'm old. No, Go in there with this. I can do technology. I can figure stuff out. I plan to work for a long time. I've got perfect attendance. I've never missed a day of work. Or yada, yada, yada.
I love that. Right? Hit it off at the top. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just don't mess around. Hit me in the head with the fact.
That's right. No. Excellent. And did she land? Did she get a job as a medical assistant? Oh, good.
She got a job within, I think it was 2 to 3 weeks when we got done. And she had been looking for 6 months.
And, you sort of examined what she was doing wrong. It sounds like she was losing them in the interview process. So you helped her.
Absolutely.
You didn't have to revamp her resume. We knew that was working. And
yeah, we did tweak her resume, but the resume was getting her in. So I didn't want to mess with that too much.
You knew that wasn't the trouble, right?
But still there were things that we could highlight, right? We could highlight the technology that she was so one of the things that we did on her resume was pushed all the technology she was had been introduced to in the medical assistant program and in her practicum that she did. What were the other softwares, scheduling things, and all that stuff. So that's the biggest thing we did is we changed she either didn't have that on her resume and was still getting interviews, or it wasn't highlighted. So we highlighted the technology. We highlighted a lot of that stuff, right? That's the value that she brings. And really, literally, I think it was within 2 to 3 weeks after we got done and we did a mock interview and, had her work on those stories that highlighted, her willingness to learn, those stories that talked about her perfect attendance, those stories that talked about her ability to figure out technology. And those are all, next thing I know, she'd been looking for 6 months and couldn't find anything. And next thing I know, she's out working.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But part of it, she had to change her mindset, right?
That's right. She had to reframe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with job seekers or when you're coaching coaches, can you name a couple of tools that you feel that someone engaging in job search absolutely cannot be without?
Well, I said it, LinkedIn, I just think you've got to have, for most of the people that I'm working with, you have to have an online presence. Everybody has an online presence.
But yeah, or
has one. It may not be good, but for me, the big tool is create a professional online presence. And LinkedIn pretty much trumps all the other social media, unless you have your own website. But you want to create that, and it's an opportunity just to demonstrate where you've been, what you've accomplished, but also where you're going. And I just think that you've got to have that online presence. It's really for the other good. People are going to look you up online.
They do, whether you like it or not. That's right. And when you don't have a presence, that sets off bells.
Well, right. If I have 3 candidates and I'm like, I could hire any one of these 3, and I go off and do some research, and the other 2 have got some kind of online presence, mostly good. You don't have any. It makes me nervous.
Who are they going to pick? Yeah, you're right.
And so you got to have it. Now, I could argue that you want to be more engaged on LinkedIn and yada yada, but at minimum, you've got to have a presence. People have got to be able to find you. So that would probably be for a job seeker or a career changer. I just think you got to have that.
Yeah.
Whether you go into Twitter and all these other places, I mean, that's really dependent upon the industry and your comfort level. But
right.
That's
so at bare minimum, have something. LinkedIn is sort of the easiest entry point for that, and make sure it sort of reflects who you want to present, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, agree.
Yeah.
Agree. So my last question in closing is my favorite one. I love to hear what you're up to. What's next for you? I think you mentioned a book at the beginning.
Yeah, I have. I'm just about ready to send it to the editor. So I have a book.
Oh, what's it about?
Well, I'm not sure of the title, but it's gonna be like a handbook for career coaches. I'm playing around with the serendipity piece, but it's really a book for people who are doing providing career services.
Yeah.
How do you improve your skills? It's my same clientele that I've always had. But so I just a lot of it is about my philosophy on how to working with clients and how do you the importance of relationship building. This whole intentional serendipity.
I love that.
Importance of professional development and engagement. So I've got 10 chapters, and it should be out this winter. So
wow, I love intentional. I love the concept of intentional serendipity and also avoiding the vortex of negativity. I've got those in quotes embedded in my brain now. Those are awesome.
Yeah. So that's the big thing coming up. And then other than that, I'm just plodding along. I'm looking, I'm looking to develop more online seminars. I teach my seminars are for career people are a little different. They're 5 weeks long, and they're not independent studies. They're really I limit them to 10 people. So
they're small groups.
5 to 10 career professionals, career practitioners, and we pick up each week, do some other readings or watch a video, and then discuss it. And I think that's where the real learning happens. Is really when you have to put your thoughts together and go, this is what I think, and then someone gives a different perspective, and you react. And so that was for me one of the thing that I'm going to continue. I'm expanding my online seminars, and I'm looking for other instructors that can teach topics that are not in my wheelhouse. Like I've got a guy who's going to teach a class for me working with ex-offenders and stuff that that's not an area that I've done. And I've got someone else who's teaching one for K to 12 career development. So that's the other thing I'm looking for, is getting some more offerings and collaborating with more people. I love working with collaborating with other professionals.
If a career coach or a career development professional wants to reach you, or if a job search professional, someone who needs some guidance on job search wants to reach out to you, what is the best way to do that?
Well, best way is probably to go to my website, Peak Careers. It's Peak, PEAK-careers.com. You can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm more active there. I am on Twitter and Facebook. But probably getting to my website is the easiest.
Excellent.
For people who are looking for coaching, individual career coaching, you can sign up for a 30-minute complimentary session to see if we're a good fit. They can do that on the website. And,
awesome. And the LinkedIn, your LinkedIn and your website, I've put them both on your bio that will be attached with this recording. Yeah. Well, Jim, thank you so much. I so appreciate you coming to speak with me. I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. We're getting into the end days of December now. But thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Virginia. This was wonderful. I enjoyed it.
You've been listening to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's SCIM online readers, hiring and decision makers, go to www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.